Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin our forum in a while. Please give us your full attention. Thank you.
No, I think within one minute or so, 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah, I can. Okay, okay then. Okay. So how do I go in? Can't hear anything. The mic. The what? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. But can you speak? I can't hear you. Can you say hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, yes, I can hear you now. Okay, yeah, can you see me? Boleh nampak tak?
No, sir.
Oh, okay, wait, hold on.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, everyone. We would like to thank and welcome Associate Professor Dr. Aini Akmal binti Muhammad Qasim, the resource person for ALS 457, Stanton Dr. Aini Farida Azul Hassan, the head of LG 240, the lecturers of Academy Pengajian Bahasa, the speakers, Madam Lina Chua, and Mr. Michael Sifo, and fellow audience members.
My name is Muhammad Nur Afif bin Razman.
And my name is Nur Sakina binti Rafisin.
And today we will be your moderators.
For your information, participants in this forum will receive an e-certificate by completing the attendance form and feedback form, which will be available in the chat box towards the end of the program. So, fellow audience, don't miss this opportunity to obtain your e-certificate. If you have any questions, you may write it in the chat box and we will address it during the Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, do give your full attention and let's santai together.
Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, let's lift our spirits by listening to Negaraku and Wawasan Setia Warga UITM. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the forum, let's call upon Ahmad Farhan bin Muhammad for a prayer recitation.
Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahilladzi bi ni'matihi tatimmu shalihat. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulina al-amin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. All praises are for Allah Ta'ala. Blessing and peace be upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family and companion. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Ya Allah, we express our gratitude to you, Ya Allah, for your approval and permission. Today, we, your servants, are able to gather in this place to make the Sulam LG 243 program a success. We ask that our ceremony may be blessed and pleased. Ya Sattar, Ya Shakur. Ya Allah, you are truly beautiful and you have all the beauty. So through the Sulam program, we, your servant, praise the beauty for your nature, your religious teaching. So accept it, O Ya Allah. Ya Fatah, Ya Wahhab. Ya Allah, we hope that you will accept our efforts as pure efforts and acts of worship on this day as a catalyst for your side. Makes us closer to you and your listeners. Ya Manzilur Rahmah wa Ya Fatihul Barakah. Grant us a soft and wet tongue to always mention your name so that we continue to remember and be grateful for your favors and a healthy body to fulfill your commands. Ya Allah, Ya Qadiyul Hajjah. Oh Allah, oh our Lord, if in this meeting there is something that invites your wrath, then forgive us. Indeed, you are the most forgiving and the most merciful. May us among your servants who always listen and follow good words. Allahumma ja'al jam'ana hadha jam'an marhumah wa tafarraqana min ba'dihi tafarraqa ma'sumah wa la tajal innahuma fina wa la ma'ana wa la man yatba'una shaqiyyan wa la matruda wa la mahrumah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, Amin, Ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you to Ahmad Farhan. May our discussion today be insightful and blessed. Without further ado, we welcome Associate Professor Dr. Aini Akmar to give the opening speech.
Dr. Aini, you are mute.
Sorry, okay, I will start over. Thank you to the moderators, okay, the respected head of studies of LG240, Datin Dr. Aini Farida Azul Hassan, our distinguished panel of speakers, Madam Lina Chua and Mr. Michael Singho, the program advisors, my colleagues, Madam Nur Azam Muhammad Rati and Mr. Muhammad Nasiruddin Aziz, fellow lecturers and students, and my dear audience. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to our Sulam Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, Alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah. We can all gather on this very delightful day. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the organizer for inviting me to give an opening speech to this Sulam Forum, hosted by Semester 2 LG243 students, Academy of Language Studies, APB UiTM Shah Alam. I'd like to say well done and congratulations to the organizer okay, who has made this forum a success. I am sure that your journey in realizing this forum must have been full of ups and downs. Okay, but as the saying goes, the more difficult the journey, the sweeter the reward. You have taken up the challenge and brought us all together on this beautiful day, and that is the best reward, okay, that we as lecturers could ever have. That is the wisdom and the strong bond that the students have fostered. Today's forum aims to discuss the minorities' identity in Malaysia in the hope to emphasize that its identity extends beyond language, apart from addressing the ever-growing awareness of cultures, especially those in Malaysia. This includes the minority groups in Malaysia, like the Peranakans and the Malay Portuguese people. Through our discussion today, it is hoped that we can all learn new things about one another, rekindle awareness on the legacy of minorities in Malaysia, and foster a deeper understanding for a better future. Once again, I would like to convey my appreciation to the organizer who has worked diligently to make this forum a reality, and to our invited panels who are kind enough to grace our forum with their celebrated presence on this lovely day. Much appreciation also goes to those who are involved directly or indirectly in our forum today. May today's session be fruitful for us all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
You, Associate Professor Dr. Aini Asma, we appreciate your insightful words. Now, let us shed some light on the program in which we are gathered this morning. A forum titled Preserving Heritage, Exploring Baba Nyonya and Kristang Language Artists is a part of the SULAM initiative, which stands for Service Learning Malaysia University for Society. This program has been established since 2019, and its objective is to help future generations to develop social responsibilities.
We, the students of LG243, are here to raise awareness on the importance of preserving Peninsular Malaysia's minority ethnic languages in this forum titled Preserving Heritage, Exploring Baba Nyonya and Kristang Language Narratives. According to National Geographic, every 2 weeks, one language dies. Approximately 7,000 more languages are expected to vanish over the next 100 years. We are more likely to abandon our native tongues to fit into a world dominated by English, Mandarin, Spanish, and other colossal languages. In this forum, we will discuss the Baba Nyonya language spoken by kaum Peranakan and the Kristang language spoken by kaum Malay Portuguese. Now, before we tango with the lingo, how about some introduction to the dancers first? Representing the Baba Nyonya language, specifically Baba Malay, a representative of her association, Persatuan Peranakan Baba Nyonya of Kuala Lumpur and Selangor, Madam Lina Chua. Madam Lina Chua is a 10th generation Nyonya who can trace both her patriarchal and matriarchal roots to Malacca. She is an educator in the teaching of English as a first and second language for countless years now. Madam Lina is also actively involved with the Inner Wheel organization, which is closely linked to the Rotary clubs. IW is one of the world's largest women's service organization. They are deeply committed to philanthropic activities for the betterment of the community around them and have a presence in the United Nations. She is currently the Vice President of the Kuala Lumpur branch. Let's give the warmest welcome to Madam Lina Chua. Nice to meet you, Madam. How are you? Madam, could you speak louder because we can't hear you? Madam, could you put the microphone a little bit closer to your mouth?
I don't need to say.
Yeah.
So how do I do them? Anything.
Thank you, Madam.
Let's introduce our second speaker for the forum, Mr. Michael Singho, representing the Malay Portuguese community. Mr. Michael is an individual who is interested in history and arts and is currently working on his first novel. His exploration of the Kristang language and culture will help us to know more about the language. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Michael Singho. Mr. Michael, how are you?
Well, good morning. I'm fine, and thank you for inviting me to this forum. I apologize a little bit for the earlier disruption because I couldn't get it done on the desktop. So I'm using my smartphone now, but at least we can communicate. Okay, thank you. Okay, my name is Michael Singho. Short introduction. I'm actually the president of the Malacca Portuguese Eurasian Association, and my duties are to look into the interests of the community through the association. And among them is the interest in the determination to preserve and enhance our Malacca Portuguese language, or referred to colloquially as Kristang or Papua Kristang. So the actual terminology is actually Portuguese Malacca, or in English, Malacca Portuguese Creole language. So that is what me and my team is trying to do for the moment, for the past couple of years.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. We, the LG243 students, are very grateful to have Madam Nina Chua and Mr. Michael Singho for spending time with us today. Now, without further ado, everyone, please sit back and jom santai with us.
Dear audience, history is not the past, but a map of the past drawn from a particular point of view to be useful to the modern traveler. We know that history is the most important part of a language. We can never know how and when it was born, but there are stories passed down from generation to generation. So, how did languages came around? We would like to begin by asking our first panel, Miss Lina. Miss Lina, do you mind telling us a little bit about the history of the Baba Nyonya language and the Kaum Peranakan?
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yes, madam, we can hear you very clearly.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry I'm having some glitches just now. I'm sorry. My apologies. All right. Can I have your question again, please?
Sure do, madam.
Just can I just say something for an introduction? I
Go
just
ahead,
want
madam.
to commend. I just would like to commend your faculty for organizing this Sulam Forum, which is a very great initiative. It's on the part of the Ministry of Education, and I want to thank you all for reaching out to my Pesaka Peranakan and inviting one of us as a speaker. That's my introduction. And can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? All right. Let me say something about my community. The Baba Nyonyas, we are called the Peranakan Chinese. Yeah, we are an integral part of Malaysia's cultural, multicultural heritage. Our forefathers came to Malaya then during the 15th to the 19th century, and when they came to our shores, they intermarried with the local people here, with the local women here. So that's why we form a very unique hybrid culture, which incorporates the Sino-Malay influences. We are currently concentrated mainly in Malacca, Singapore, and Pulau Pinang. So our influence, our Baba Nyonya influence is still very strongly felt through our customs, our food, our costumes, and also our language. Okay so far?
Yes, madam.
Okay. So I want to just say one sentence that encapsulates my people. So we are Malay in form, but Chinese in culture. Any rejoinders from your part? It's okay? Good? All right, now we'll get started on my patois. Now, the correct word to use or the correct term to use is Baba Malay, right? So before I go on further, let me clarify that I am not a language activist nor a cultural activist. So what I am presenting to you all is just an overview and, in my personal opinion, how, my insights, how I see my patois. So I am speaking from the point of a layman. Is it good enough for you all? All right? Okay, now, any questions from your part? And then perhaps you want me to highlight certain aspects of it? Muhammad Noor?
Yes, madam. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about the history of the Baba Nyonya language and the kaum Peranakan?
Okay, you are actually, am I speaking to Muhammad Noor? Yes, Muhammad Noor. Yeah. Okay, you are asking me two different questions, Muhammad Noor. The first one, you asked me about the history of my people, right? But I have already explained just now that we came, the traders, the immigrants from China came during the 15th to the 19th century. So they came to our shores and they intermarried with the locals. And what I must stress is that you might ask us, how come we are not Islam by religion? We are, the majority of us, I would say, all of us are either Buddhist or Taoist. Because you must remember that the local folks those days, Islam had not got a strong foothold then in Malaya. So most of the local people, they are just, what I would say that when the men married the local women here, so they assimilated, and so that's where most of us followed the religion of our forefathers, and that means our great-great-great-grandfathers before us. And then, okay, now our culture, our patois, how our patois came about. Now, these people, predominantly the Chinese immigrants, they came from, again, I must stress that I am no language expert, okay? The undergrads of UITM and the associate professors are no language expert. So what I'm giving is just how this is how my take about my patois. So they predominantly came from the province of Fukien. So that is why our Baba Malay, from now I'm going to refer it to as Baba Malay, that is why our patois, we have a lot of Hokkien words and of course a lot of Malay words. And along the way, we have lots of English words into it. So I would say that the language of the Peranakans is a Creole dialect. A Creole dialect means a mother tongue formed by from the contact of a European language. Here we are referring to English with a local language. So that is why our patois is a very unique hybrid language. So a mix of Hokkien, Malay, and English. Is it okay? Good enough for now? Any
Yes.
questions you want to ask me? And then we will go to the, can I go to the more interesting part, the juicy part a little bit later, okay? So,
Yes,
any
madam.
questions so far?
For now, not yet. Okay, so thank you, Miss Lina. That was very fascinating to listen to the history of how the Kaum Peranakan came here, and also a little bit about the Baba Nyonya language.
Yes, yeah. I somehow feel a little bit awkward if you all refer to our patois as language, because in layman speak, I feel that a language has a written form, whereas, okay, now would you like me to continue with a little bit of the linguistic features? Yes? Would you like me to continue with that?
Perhaps maybe a little bit later on, madam.
A little bit later. Okay, that's fine. Okay, what would you like me to highlight from this point? What would you like me to highlight from this point?
For now, maybe a little bit more into the forum, madam.
I beg your pardon about the?
For now, maybe not yet. Maybe a little bit later on.
Okay. Yeah. Perhaps you want me to delve into, you were thinking, why so many Hokkien words? You know Hokkien is a dialect of the Chinese, right? Why are there so many Hokkien words? Now, Hokkien words, for example, I just give you one or two sentences. One thing I must also stress that I am trying to speak slowly, because one feature of my Baba Malay patois is that all of us native speakers, we speak at lightning speed. So, we cakap sangat cepat. So sometimes we must consciously tell ourselves to slow down. Okay, so right now I will not be making long sentences. Example of a Hokkien word, we say tolong ut baju. Now ut there is a Hokkien word. Ut means iron the clothes. Another one is kiasai. Kiasai sudah datang. Mana kiasai tu? Kiasai is a Hokkien word for the bridegroom. So that is an example of a Hokkien word, of a few Hokkien phrases. Is it good enough for now?
Thank you, Ms. Lina. Now, we would like to move on to our second panel, Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael, can you enlighten us on the history of the Kristang language and the Malay Portuguese?
Okay, thank you again for inviting me. And I would like to congratulate the faculty for setting up this forum for us to more or less be more enlightened with the minority languages that we have in the country. Okay. The history of the Malacca Portuguese language, there's no real documentation about the origin, but when the Portuguese arrived in Malacca in 1511, or rather in 1509 at first, then they came back in 1511. Prior to that, they ventured out of Europe into Africa in 1413, where they took over, or they sort of conquered Kuita in northern Morocco. Then they put attention on the other parts of Africa through Western Africa. So from 1413 to 1490 plus, they went through the Western Africa and found a way to come to the east through the Cape of Good Hope. How it was from them and from Bartholomew Diaz, and later Vasco da Gama set a route to the east to India and then to Malacca. That's like the people traveled from Europe, Portugal to the east to India and then to Malaysia. So that took about, by the time we came to Malacca, it took about 102 years for the people, the seafarers, to arrive in this part of the world. So along that line, the language itself, at that time, Portuguese was actually being developed with the Portuguese of Galicia, that is the northern Spain, northern according to Portugal, and the Portuguese that was considered as Portuguese. So when the language arrived with the people, it already had these variations of the term Portuguese, because Portuguese was being developed, being evolved, was still evolving, but there was a standard Portuguese already. But at the same time, some of the speakers could have been from the northern part of Portugal or northern Spain, where they spoke Galician, which is a twin language to Portuguese, right? So there is some similarities with Portuguese, very close to Portuguese and Galician. But as they went along through Africa and then probably later on India, the language might have absorbed certain other elements from Africa. Right? So when it arrived here in 1511, there were speakers who spoke Standard Portuguese at that time, and I'm sure there were speakers who spoke the other variation. It could have been the variation could have been originated from Galicia, which is in northern Spain. So that's what there's no real proof about it, but that's not an assumption, but a hypothesis that that's what happened, right? So our language, the Malacca Portuguese language, probably evolved from that Galician strain. It was similar to the Portuguese at that time, but there were some a little bit differences in the way they spoke it, in the way they pronounced it, and stuff like that. But as they got along to the east, these text, the lexicon used, and even the what do you call it, the grammar that evolved for us to speak it at the present is more closely related to the Eastern languages like Malay, Tamil, or Sinhalese. So when we speak Portuguese or Malacca Portuguese, which is 97% derived from Portuguese words in the vocabulary, 97%, but the grammar is basically Eastern, very close to Malay, very close to Malay, Tamil or Sinhalese. Right? So that's what we are speaking now. So when we speak to the what do you call it, people from Portugal, they understand us completely. Even though to them we speak in a bit of an odd manner, you see, because of our grammar, but they understand us completely. But when they speak to us, we have to strain our ears because of the slang, the accent, you know. And ours, you have to strain and you listen very carefully. And pronunciation is quite different from us. One example is when you say the word like we say mang. Mang means hand, mang. Theirs is a bit more nasal, ours more guttural. They'll say mau, mau. So it's a bit different. Huh? So for example, they say Kristang. Kristang means, as you use the word Kristang, it's a colloquial terminology that actually derived from the words Christian or Kristang. So when we say Kristang, we say Kristang. So that's nasal thing. So and when we say you, both, they say bosh. These kind of differences, right? So we have to strain our ears to catch this, and then the grammar, of course, is totally different than how we speak. So that's how it came here over to Malacca, and that's how it evolved to the present day as it is. So the present day Papua Kristang is not very much different from how it was when it was fully developed, probably 200 years past. But the history of the language is about 400 years. Then it developed and evolved to the present, call it language, Creole language, as Wan Lina was saying. It's a Creole language, and that's what we speak now, you see. So, as I said, the similarities in the grammar is very close to Malay, and to an extent it also follows the influence of English, the way we speak English. That's how sometimes we speak like a Portuguese also.
Thank you, Mr. Michael, for the in-depth history of the Kristang language and the Malay-Portuguese ethnicity. Okay, so I will get back right to you, Mr. Michael. So now
Okay.
I'm going to ask Miss Lina, regarding the linguistic features of the Baba Malay Creole language. Okay, as example, we have Bahasa Melayu and English. We take it as an example. They will put the subject and then comes the verb. And saya makan. So, do you think in what ways does the grammar or syntax of this Creole language differ from Bahasa Melayu, or do you think it's just the same as the Bahasa Melayu? Is there any difference?
That is a very pertinent question. I would say, all right, just like Mr. Michael has said before, our dialect, our patois has evolved, and it's a very, through the centuries, so we have incorporated a lot of newer words and all that. And of course, along the way, native speakers also has dropped. Now you're talking about the grammar and syntax. As I see it, there is no form of grammar, and the syntax can be a little bit, okay, again I have to clarify that I'm no language expert. Yeah? So there is no grammar. It's just like in English or in Bahasa Melayu, there is Nahu, Tata Bahasa, whereas in grammar, you got the 8 parts of speech, you got the verbs, and then you got the subject, the predicate, and then which comes first, the arrangement of the participles and all that. There is no such thing in our Baba Malay. So it is more, as I see it, is more like higgledy-piggledy. He said, okay, saya sekarang, saya makan, jemput makan. But in Baba Malay, we said, sometimes we use a little bit modern, like say, jom makan. He said, okay. I can't help but smile because please excuse when I utter some words, it may sound to your professors and all that, it may sound quite kasar. Kasar means very coarse. So, but this is how my Baba Malay is, okay? Okay, for example, we said, jemput makan. So we said, mari, cekik. So those days we say cekik. Now, what in Bahasa Melayu, cekik means what? To throttle somebody, to cekik like that, right? Say, mari, cekik tu. Cekik lah, apa mau makan, makan lah. Now, that sounds a bit coarse, right? There'll be other coarser words at you. But it is just how my grandmothers and my great-grandmothers used to speak. But now, with the younger generation, we realize with the intermingling and interaction with the Malays, the Indians, the Sabahans, we need to be conscious when we speak, because we know that when I speak to my cousins, to my people, we say, cekik, pergilah, rambuslah. Yeah, okay, there are other words, but when we speak, when you're all around, we have to be conscious. We say, mari, makan. Makan sama-sama lah. So we intersperse it with a little bit of gentler Bahasa Melayu words. So let me say that, in my opinion, there is no grammar, no proper syntax. We just hantam only whenever we see our own people. So it may sound a little bit gibberish and may sound, that's the English word, higgledy-piggledy, you know, semua kita taruh saja. So, but when we speak King's English, we cannot speak like that. There must be a proper form. We cannot say, got lah, take already lah, eat already. That's not correct. We must say, we have eaten. But in Baba Malay, anything boleh. No grammar, no syntax.
Thank you, Ms. Lina, for the insightful example. It's very eye-opening. So, listen to the example like cekik and that sound very aggressive, I think, but that's the uniqueness of the Baba Malay Creole language.
Okay, so I'm so sorry to interject, but since I'm onto this coarseness, there is another word. So if some of my friends who are listening on, they might smile also, for example, like, what do you think about this word? You all Bahasa Melayu said, akhir bulan, right? Akhir bulan, right? Akhir bulan December, kita akan menyambut Christmas. But Baba Malay, do you know what we say? We say akhir bulan to my aunties and uncles, they will not understand you. And we will say, wait for it, we will say the word buntut bulan. Okay, what is the meaning of buntut? Now, buntut is a very coarse Bahasa Melayu word, right? Normally, you will say the word ponggong, right? So we say buntut bulan. But when you say to my aunties and all that, akhir bulan, mereka tak faham. That's it.
Buntut bulan. That is so interesting. I might use it now.
Please don't.
Okay. Okay, now how about we go back to Mr. Michael? Thank you very much, Ms. Lina, for the explanation. So, Mr. Michael, I think you mentioned earlier that the Kristang Creole language, especially at the grammar part, is quite the same as Bahasa Melayu, right? But okay, how about the syntax? Or do you want to explain more about the difference between the grammar and syntax from Bahasa Melayu?
Okay, to begin with, as I said, the term Kristang is taken off as the terminology for our language. Actually, it's colloquial. So, to what I feel, colloquiality cannot be expressed to mean an official terminology because it remains colloquial. So the the word Kristang, as I said earlier, comes from the term which means Portuguese, which means Christian, Kristang, Kristang. So this word is multifaceted. You can, it means the language, it means the religion, and it also means the people. So the religion is called religion Christian. Kristang, that means Christianity. Yeah? The people is Gente Kristang, and the language is Papia Kristang. So the reference to language colloquially is actually Papia Kristang. And but officially it should be known as Portuguese Malacca or Malacca Portuguese, or Portuguese Malacca, as in Malay, Portuguese Malacca. You see, Portuguese Malacca, we would say Portuguese Malacca. So the syntax, or rather the grammar, syntax is the same as Malay, where the adjective comes after the noun. So that's the similarity there. You see, in English, for example, they say a black cat. Malay will say kucing hitam, right? We also say gatu preto. Gatu is cat, preto is black. So the adjective comes after the noun. So it is different from the European language structure. That's one example that I can give. As I said, I agree with Miss Lina. We are not linguists. We have not studied linguistics. We just have a superficial knowledge of it, and we'll try to explain as simple as we can in what we know. Right. So that's one example of speaking Portuguese or Malacca Portuguese, right? And besides that, the grammar is not that developed to be considered as a full-fledged what do you call it, grammar that we have. It's a little bit like what Mr. United said, a little bit roja here and there, but we're able to actually deliver what you want to say. But the closeness of the grammar to the Eastern languages, especially Malay, is very close, and it is so much diverse from the European method of grammatical structure. In the case of the Malacca Portuguese, or the Papia Kristang, let me speak, right? But with all that, it's intelligible to people from Portugal. They can understand us fully. So we share the same kind of elements with the other Portuguese colonies, say in Africa, in Cape Verde. You know, it's similar to how we speak in Macau. The Macau patois that was spoken. It is, I think it's on the way out. It's on the way to be extinct in Macau. There's only a few speaking it, but that Macau patois is 100% from Malacca. Because when the Dutch came, the Malacca Portuguese, some of them ran off to Macau. So Macau, those earlier days, say at the turn of the century, they could see people wearing the sarong kebaya. The kebaya panjang. That was brought to Macau from us, the Malacca Portuguese. They wear the kebaya panjang. They wear the kebaya panjang because that's how the older people used to wear. So when they went to Macau, they brought that attire with them also. But you can hardly see it now because most of them have already passed away and all that, you know. So, but anyway, Macau patois is totally from Malacca. But there are also some similarities with the Indo-Portuguese spoken in some parts of India or in Sri Lanka. There is similarities, but this way of speaking it, the accent is different because ours is probably still in the very Latin structure, the character of Asian, with a lot of Malay influence in the way we speak.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll get back to that later. Now let's move on to another set of questions. Now, sir, I have a question for you. Are there any interesting anecdotes or stories related to a certain word that evolves with time and can be used in other sentences. But they give different meaning. Like in Bahasa Melayu, we have the word makan in general, which means to eat. But if it used with another word, it means something different. Like, for example, makan angin, which means going out, go on a holiday, or spend time outside. Are there any interesting words like that in the Kristang language?
Okay, for example, when you say makan or eat, you say in Kristang, in like a Portuguese, you say kumi. Kumi. That's the word for it. But when we say when you eat very in a glutton manner, you know, you really eat so much and you're waiting to, we call it rabenta, which is quite rough. Rabenta, you know, instead of saying kumi. Kumi is more call it what we call it gentle, you see. And then and of course kumi again, you can say kumi bantu. That is maybe metaphorically to mean that you're going out to eat. I mean, literally, it means to eat air. Kumi bantu is air, or eat wind, but actually means you're going out to get some fresh air. That's one way of doing. And for example, another thing they do have a lot of what do you call it? They make up. They use that's something to do with. For example, for aeroplane, the word for it is avião in Portuguese, but we say barco a voar. Barco a voar. They use flying ship. They're paraphrasing there, you see. And for example, when you say bicycle in Portuguese, bicicletis. In Central Portuguese, we say cavalo ferro, which means iron horse for bicycle. That's how the interesting part of languages where the people use their imagination to describe, because at that time there was no aeroplane, you see. At that time there was no bicycle, but it came later, so they use their own paraphrasing to know what they mean.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now that was very interesting. Okay, now let's move on to Madam Lina. Are there any interesting anecdotes or certain words that evolves with time, and it can be used with like other sentences to give different meaning?
As I pointed out that I have never ever done any in-depth study about my patois. So I am not able to tell how our patois has evolved. But as there are so many words that, you know, metaphorically speaking, can convey different meanings, and of course there are different nuances to the word itself. For example, like the word kasih. Okay, kasih, he said, gua kasih lu. Mai sini, gua mau kasih lu satu barang. Now, do you see the syntax of the sentence itself? It's all, to an untrained ear, he said, it's, of course, like Mr. Michael said, strictly we are very colloquial speaking. Gua mau kasih lu. Okay, kasih means I want to gift you, I want to give you. But when we also say kasih, mai sini, gua mau kasih you betul-betul. So that means, come here, I want to give you a piece of my mind. Are you ready for it? I want to scold you. So I think in any dialect or what, there are many, many words which can be used metaphorically speaking. So if you were to ask me to give you one anecdote or one, I can't think of just one particular example, because so many words are used in different nuances, different connotations. It's just that if one native speaker speak to another native speaker, we jolly well know what they mean. But for you all to eavesdrop and listen to what we say, number two, and we speak so fast. I'm sure there are many, I'm sure you cannot quite understand us. So that is the best I can say about the anecdote, about the examples.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you, madam. Right, my next question is, does the kaum Peranakan still uses the Baba Malay language in their community to this day and for their day-to-day activities?
Okay, as I discuss this question that you posed to me, I will also have to say that this Baba Malay that I am talking about is what we speak in Malacca and in Singapore, but not in Pulau Pinang. The Pulau Pinang, they use a different, the dialect is a bit different. And of course, they got Peranakan Chinese from Terengganu and Kelantan too, a huge community. So, so the question was, do we use it in our daily lives? Now, the older generation, of course they do, because we are very comfortable with it. But now I am residing in Kuala Lumpur, and due to the pockets of people that I meet along the way, I have to assimilate. I have to speak like how they speak. So daily life, I don't use it at all. But a language, a dialect is all about usage. The more you use, the more comfortable you are. So bila I balik kampung, I punya kampung kat Melaka, I punya mak saudara, bapa saudara, I will automatically lapse into my Baba Malay. Because I feel that I can convey what I want to say and what I want to, no matter how crude the language is, they understand and we understand each other very well. So this is to the extent about the usage. Daily life among my family here, my friends here, no, we don't. We don't at all. We revert back to English, not strictly English. So, and I have lots of friends who are Malays. So I automatically will speak Bahasa Melayu with them. And Bahasa Melayu sounds very different from Baba Malay. Yeah? So the extent of usage is bila I balik kampung and I see my orang tua-tua, my elderlies, then I will revert to my Baba Malay. And we speak practically about 80% Baba Malay. That's the extent of usage.
Okay, thank you, madam. That's very interesting, actually. Yeah. Next, we would like to give the floor to Mr. Michael. Now, in the Malay Portuguese community, do they still use the Kristang language to this day for their day-to-day activities?
Yeah, the language is being used, but more centered in the Portuguese settlement, because that's where the concentration of people are, where have the chance to be more in position to exercise your language or to interact in that language. But outside Malacca, the diaspora is all over the place. They are in Singapore, they are in Kuala Lumpur. In fact, the Klang has the most of the community. Totally in Malaysia, I think we have maybe about 15,000 Portuguese or Malacca Portuguese or Eurasians that are Portuguese descent. So, but there is no concentration where you can meet and talk your language in outside Malacca. But in the Portuguese settlement, that's where we are. So we speak there. Of course, there are quite a number that have migrated to other places, to Europe, to England, to America. But the most can be found in Perth, Australia. So there a lot of them have moved there since the 60s. So you've got pockets of Eurasians. We are also known as Eurasian, or in Bahasa Melayu, you call it Serani or Nasrani, because it comes from the word Nasrani, which is the description of Jesus. He's from Nazareth, Nasrani. So we are the followers of Jesus, so they call us Nasrani, shortened to Serani. So Serani is the colloquial Malay word for our community, right? Besides that, our community is also known as Eurasians, but not all Eurasians are Portuguese, right? But all Portuguese are Eurasians because you are mixed between Europe and Asia, right? But there are many Eurasians that are also of English descent, of Dutch descent, stuff like that. But the majority are Portuguese. Majority are Portuguese. Our community all began in Malacca. So, as you were saying, the speakers, then you got pockets that speaks language. They also in Australia, but a little bit more Australian slang, a little bit here and there. You see, so the language changes its features in the pockets that's been spoken away from Malacca. But you want to find it spoken, you find it in Testament. But even there also, because of the importance of English and Bahasa Melayu, Bahasa Malaysia, the language is also slowly dwindling in the speakers in the core area where the Portuguese exists currently. You see, so even in Portuguese, the younger folks are speaking less of the language. Right? Slowly shows, we are quite worried because it shows signs of declining. You see, and it's too precious to lose, because it's a very rare language. It's a very rare spoken delivery. So we can't lose it, but it's not easy for us to get them to speak because we cannot push it down their throats. You see? So we have to formulate ways and means of how to get them to continue speaking the language without really forcing it. And it's a challenge to us. That is why I'm involved in process of trying to preserve the language what we can. And we have had help from Tim Layer, from Professor Stephanie Pide, whose grandmother is Portuguese. So they have helped us in funding certain of our projects. And one of them is I'm the author together with a few of this book. This is a book which is called Friendly Portuguese Malacca. Let's Learn Malacca Portuguese. Right? So this is one way that we are trying to get our language written, because the language has been handed down from generation to generation through the oral traditions. It was not written, you see. It was not written. Even it was written in the way Portuguese was written those days. But as time developed, it cannot really apply the way the orthography of writing Portuguese to be applied to the orthography to write Malacca Portuguese. So we are now trying to develop, and I don't mean us alone. There were those who did it earlier, like for example, Professor Baxter from Australia, who's now in Lisbon and in Macau, and also Patrick De Silva, Joan Marbeck, and Scully from Singapore. They have come up with dictionaries and other books on language. So they are trying to develop or formulate the written form of language, which we are trying to do also. Is it? So we are trying to do also, but there are some differences the way they write in this. For example, if you follow the Malay orthography of writing it, the K replaces the C. Normally, like for example, Kumi. So it's some will write Kumi, but if you would follow the standard Portuguese orthography, it is Cumi, Kumi. You see, so we in that way we have got differences in ourselves of how to write language, and the way we did it on my program on my project is to retain as much of the earlier Portuguese flavors as possible, to retain the originality, right? Without actually doing away with the other influences. That means we do. So our book here consists of both influences. So again, we cannot say that this is a way to write our language, because we cannot push it. So we just let what do you call it, the process takes its form. You cannot push it down people's throats, especially at this stage. So we are trying to get it written, trying to literalize the language with efforts like this. So that's one way to do it. But the thing is that it's a difficult thing because we don't have the funds. And the government, honestly, is not helping us in this way. It's quite sad to say, you see? Because they should look and put some of the into languages like ours, because these are little pearls that should be preserved. The Baba Malay language, the Portuguese language, the Chiti Melaka Malay language. These are things that the government should really take care, because these are little gems, right? But to get for them, it's so difficult. But luckily for us, we had a lot of help from UC Malaya. But government per se have to realize that they need to help us. If not, our language is going to die. Honestly, because as Ms. Rina has said, the way to keep it alive is to speak it. You don't speak it, you'll die. Use it or lose it, as Singapore says it about Mandarin. Same as here also. Use it or lose it. So we must make sure that the younger generation keep on speaking. But how to do it? You cannot push them to speak. Just about Asia and what is English. Our people, they speak more English than we speak our Malacca Portuguese. Malacca Portuguese, in fact, is this way: English, Malay, then Malacca Portuguese, generally. But in the Portuguese settlement, of course, it's English and Portuguese and Malay, right? So how the situation is, we are in a predicament currently, and we really need help to make sure that our language is being preserved, not only preserved, enhanced and strengthened in communities. Because our goal now here is probably, if it's possible, if we're able to get and formulate this situation, we would want to have it in schools and have that's our goal, our objective, our most highest objective. And will eventually be able to deliver people's own language, including ours as one of those. I mean, you have Tamil, you have Mandarin, then you have Malacca Portuguese. Those one, but it's a long way, because we have to first develop the literalized language first. It needs a lot of help, because it needs small learning centers to start with in Portuguese itself. We don't have that, you see. So it is a challenge. It's a challenge, but we need to do it, because if we don't, we'll lose it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now I have an very interesting question to Madam Lina. Now, since Mr. Michael just introduced us on the efforts that the Malay Portuguese are doing to revitalize and documenting their native language, what about the Baba Malay? Are there any efforts or initiatives aimed to revitalize or documenting this unique ethnic language?
Another very pertinent question. First, I want to commend Mr. Michael Singhu and your efforts at trying to put it in black and white, or have some form of documentation for your endangered dialect. Now, I would say that my Baba Malay, I would not term it as critically endangered yet, because again, from a layman's point of view, I think native speaker, when I say native speaker, meaning that when I speak to another person, we are able to comprehend 100% of what you say, no matter the speed. So this is called native speaker. There are a lot of members in my association who are also called Babas and Nyonyas, but they are not native speaker. So as I see it, native speakers in Malacca combined with Singapore. Singapore, their Baba Malay is very closely linked to us. So I would put it maybe at a conservative number, about 2,000 people who can really speak just like how I speak. But of course, I have not shown you an example of how I speak Baba Malay. Yeah? Maybe a little bit later on. So I would deem my Baba Malay, as I see it again, as an endangered language or dialect, endangered. Now, as you say, how to push it? Even my own offsprings, my own kids, they're very good. They go back, they understand perfectly well when I speak to my aunties and uncles. But for them to be able to speak like me, they have absolutely zero interest to learn. Why have they got no interest to learn? I said, why don't you learn to speak like how mom does? Mom, your dialect is archaic. You know what is archaic, right? Very archaic is something like getting obsolete. So, what reason have we to learn? It is so difficult to teach them because there's no grammar, no proper syntax. It is very difficult to teach and learn Baba Malay, no matter how interested you are. And again, language is usage. So, I have to be realistic. I try to speak as much as I can, and we try to ensure that in my generation, we try to enjoy speaking to each other, enjoy the performances, but come to the next generation, there is no guarantee. I have to be realistic with it. So how, just like you said, how are we going to ensure that our dialect, our Baba Malay, does not die? Does not die with us. How do we do that? I just give you a few examples. Number one, we have, firstly, right now, what we are doing is that recently, a month ago, November 23rd, there used to be a biennial Baba Nyonya convention. Now, Baba Nyonya convention, where we invite sister associations from Phuket and all that. So we all congregate and we converge. Recently, it was in Malacca. So that's where we enjoy talking each other and renew old times. Okay, but that convention, sister associations from Singapore, and the Chittis also come, from Terengganu, from Pertiwi, Indonesia. Okay, but that is a very big group. Now the smaller group. So during the convention, we also have a stage performance called Tidak Sangka Cempedak Jadi Nangka. So we have, right now, we have our iconic stage performer like GT Lai from Singapore. And when we have a stage performance like that, a dramatization, so they speak strictly Baba Malay. So I am encouraged to see that the younger generation also want to go and dengar apa yang terselit dalamnya. So they listen to this stage performance. And then besides GT Lai, who is an iconic performer in our Baba Malay, Mr. GT Lai, you should just hear. For me, I am so impressed the way he can carry out a monologue in Baba Malay. And the way he can make you cry, he can make you laugh. Strictly Baba Malay. Another one, the younger ones who are coming up is Baba Ellen Wan and maybe I do not know. These people, I know Baba Thomas Tan, where they still have performances. Now, sometimes dramatization, quite boring. So, for our people, we like to dance, we like to joget, we like to sembang-sembang, joke-joke. And we have this, I must mention this. There is this entertainment outfit called Seri Panggung Entertainment. Now, this Seri Panggung Entertainment is helmed by two bibi. They call it Bibi Lanyo and Bibi Chapnyo. Now, when these people hold performances, so both of them will be conducting, and they are more towards comedy, and they be speaking Baba Malay, and so all of us will be laughing, doubling up with laughter, and then the young ones will be thinking, hey, what are we missing here? They seem to be enjoying themselves, so they will listen, and so that's how these are some attempts made to keep our Baba Malay alive and well. In a form of documentation, like Mr. Singho said, I have no idea whether any one of our language activists are pursuing this idea about documenting our Baba Malay. I have no idea at all. But at least these two, about through song and dances, these are one way of us keeping our Baba Malay alive for now. To depend on the government, come on. We need to work at it ourselves, okay? We need to encourage people. We need to get, but language-wise, it's a uphill battle, very susah, because for the young ones to pick up a language, I would not even pursue this POL idea, people's own language in schools, because a language must have its use. What use is our Baba Malay for careers, for future, to if they were to relocate to another country? TC, it's useless. So why learn? That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Miss Nina. I think lack of exposure to the Creole language has long been a major challenge for the younger generation. But yeah, for the both initiatives, have for the Kristang language, Mr. Michael will publish a book to written in language, and for the Baba Malay, we have lots of initiative from convention, entertainment for the younger generation. So we hope that everything went well, hopefully. So thank you to the panelists for the insightful sharing and perspective of Baba Malay and Kristang language. So before proceeding to the Q&A session,
Yes, excuse me. I just want to have a rejoinder talking about the future. Can I just have a short paragraph? Please allow me. As I said, that the young generation see our dialect as pointless. So, as I see it, why fight a losing battle? Why fight it? So, we try to keep alive what we can. And that is our heritage, our culture, our food, and our beautiful costumes. So that one we can try. And to keep it alive, have it documented, have it out, published in books by food writers. So let's fight for realistic things. Okay? So what if we cannot? Let's not try too hard. Thank you.
thank you, Ms. Lina. Let's just try our best. Okay. So before proceeding to the Q&A session, fellow audience are reminded to complete the attendance and feedback forms. So before we conclude the forum, we would like to invite anyone who has any question to ask our respectful speakers. You can ask by unmuting your microphone or typing it into the chat box.
Mm.
Have you all got no questions? Gordon, this is a good opportunity for you all to ask. Perhaps you could write your papers.
Yes,
Any
we
questions?
are waiting for the audience also to ask the question.
Ask the question that was not asked. What can you teacher?
Okay. Okay, that's the question from Andrew Effendi. He asks, are there any specific challenges or advantages associated with preserving and promoting the language within the community? I think Miss Nina can go first, and then we will go with Mr. Michael.
Specific challenges and benefits
Advantages, yes.
in preserving our language, of course. Yeah. Again, for my generation, because we grew up with it, definitely it's worthwhile preserving it. But for future use, this is a challenge to encourage the younger generation to pick up the language, not for usage, not for economic reasons, but more towards having an interest in it, wanting to learn more about it, and wanting to teach it or maybe encourage the next generation to use it. That is our challenge. Because as I said just now, there is no monetary reason, no economic reason. I mean, no, I would say no, is it correct? Monetary reason for them to pick up our language. So why bother? So this is the challenge that we face. This is for Baba Malaya.
How about Mr. Michael?
Okay, as for the Malacca Portuguese language, okay, I might agree a little with what Ms. Rina is saying, but then not everything is economics or tangible, because there's things like, as you said, heritage and the pride and identity that goes with it. In Malaysia, we pride ourselves for our diversity. We are made up of multiracial composition of the rakyat. We got major Malay, Chinese, Indian. They all have their identities. But still we have within that Malaysian mother heritage our own heritage. Which is admired like the Baba Malay, like the Chiti Malacca. We also need to preserve that identity, because, as I said, these are all little gems that Malaysia has. Malaysia is unique to other countries because we have got all these things. We got that diversity, that the houses that you cannot find anywhere else. So it is our job, in a way. It is our purpose to retain this as much as we can. So it might not have any economic value, might not have any educational value, it may not have the tangibilities that you sort of pay attention to, but still, there's always that feeling of pride, identity, heritage. It tells a story, and that carries a lot. That gives you that kind of a little bit extra when you're talking or when you're in the midst of the other communities. So to me, I think it's very important. And the challenge is, of course, there. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's difficult. It's an uphill task. You're swimming against the tide. You're swimming against the flow. But as far as I'm concerned, we need to do it. Because if we don't, then the generations that come after us will say, what did you guys do? You're busy singing and dancing. We love to sing and dance, like the Baba Nyonya. That's why we interact well with Baba Nyonya people. At our weddings, our functions, we have the same thing. We have food, we have dancing, we have eating, and we have singing and all that, right? And the ronggeng is our joget, our branyo. Our branyo is the platform that gave way to ronggeng or joget, right? So it started from our Portuguese branyo. So we share this together with the Malays of Malacca, with the Baba Nyonya, with the Chiti Malacca, the joget, the ronggeng. So we love this, and the Baba Nyonya, they love to do the cha-cha and all like we do. Same thing also. So these communities in Malacca, we are so closely related, interconnected because we share the same things, right? So it is why, besides all that, we need to do more. But Baba Nyonya, I understand they have this dramatization. This call it what do you call it? Stage shows and stuff like that. That's good. That's good because we haven't looked seriously into that yet. We have got our songs and dances, but this dramatization is something that we need to develop, and that's something that can really attract the young. You know, like comedy acts or plays. That's very good. And I commend the Baba Nyonya for having that. Something that we don't have. But, and we now, even in our folk music and our folk arts, the people are already have gone. New ones are not developed yet. For example, we had our Noel Felix, our Papa Joe Lazarus, those are all singers and all that in the arts. Because the song and dance carry a lot of weight to develop or to keep the language also. But they went off. They're dead. Some of them, and new ones do not have the same kind of quality, the same kind of ability that they had earlier. So we are losing a lot of things. So it's difficult. It's very challenging. So, but then again, it has as you said, you can get help from the government or anywhere. But if it's not here in your heart, if it's not there, you can't do it. So it has to be there. How to instill it? You can't force it. So we have to find a way how to do it in the most receptive manner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Michael.
Can I also say, that I just want to add on to Mr. Michael say, Malaysia's multi-ethnic city, our diversity is our asset, is our strength. So it's up to the younger generation. It's not only the younger generation of Babas and Nyonyas, it's also the younger generations like you people, undergraduates of universities. Please reach out to us. You know where you can reach out. Reach out to us. Contact us to get a better understanding of dwindling communities like us. We Baba, we Peranakan Chinese, the Chittis and all that, we're a dwindling community. Something very tangible like food, or before you even eat the food must face the camera first. Baju, kebaya, post here, post there, put on Instagram and all that. People can admire it. But our patois, our language, is something quite intangible. I am not saying that I don't wish to see a future for it. I feel very passionate about it. So that is why I keep on speaking, even though my friends of my generation are able to speak impeccable English. But I still want to speak Baba Malay, because I want to practice. So I even speak to my children, my boys, who are all grown-ups. But as I said, you can bring the horse to the pond, but you cannot force the horse to drink from it. So all these subtle ways, like having stage performances, menari, by the way, menari, we say tanda, yeah? Menari, tanda, and all that. They are very subtle ways, but you can see the younger generation showing an interest. They learn how to do the joget and all that. So it is a good start, whereby you get the younger generation to show an interest. And then slowly, they will pick up a little bit of our idiomatic forms of expression, our colloquial phrases. They will slowly pick up. So we take baby steps. We do what we can. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reaching out to us.
Okay, thank you, Madam Lina, and also Mr. Michael. That was very interesting to know. Next, we have a request from the audience. Could both speakers give a simple greeting in their language, like, for example, saying good morning or how are you, and how to respond to it in your native language?
When we say good morning, normally we don't say good morning, right, Mr. Singo? Do y'all say good morning? Y'all do?
Yeah, we do.
We do, huh? But if I'm back home in my hometown, we just say, yeah, we do say good morning, but good morning is a very simple form of greeting. We say, apa khabar? Dah makan? Saya dah makan. Dah kenyang dah. Siapa masak? Makan apa nyari? Ya itulah biasalah. Wah malas nyari. Dapur gua tak berasap. Malas mau masak. Ya pergi tapau lah. Tapau is another Cantonese word. So normally as we can relate to the Malays also. When we greet, among we locals, we never say, selamat pagi. We never say, but we do actually, my friends say, good morning. But normally we feel more comfortable say, dah makan? Di mana? Right? You say, dah makan, right? Why do you say dah makan? Even among the Malays. Instead of saying, good morning, I hardly say people, selamat pagi, unless you're facing the interviewers. Right? You say, dah makan? So I just gave you an example of how we spoke. Is it, apa masak nyari? Makan apa? Sana we say makan. Cakap apa nyari? Simpan dengan gua sikit ya. Ingat gua dah.
Okay, we do say good morning. We have we say bong pamiang is good morning. Good afternoon, we say bong midi, midday, good afternoon. Bong atardi means good evening. Bong anoite is good night. So when you greet a person, when you meet a person, you will say bong pamiang or bong anoite or whatever, and you say kisoti teng bong. How are you? Are you okay? Are you fine? Kisoti teng bong. And we will continue as Ms. Rina said, food is very important in our communities. Then we ask, Ojakumi, have you eaten? Kilau, with the word lao is Malay. Kilau, what food do you cook? Chinjakuze, muito sabroso. Oh, who cook? Very nice food, very, very tasty, very delicious. So that's how we, and you say, thanks Saudi, how's your health, Saudi? Bong Saudi, that's how we speak to each other, and some nonsense will come in between lah. We just speak our, our banter and all that. So that's the thing. When we meet, we do say this type of phrases and all that, and they can see an intimacy happening between each other, because there's something that people might not share because it's the colloquial closeness that we have. You see, like for example. As I said, the word Kristang, actually it's meant to be used colloquially among the community to to a secret word for us is Kristang, right? We will, but when we are in the midst of other people, when we speak, we will ask them, which who are non-Portuguese, we ask them, do you understand? We won't say that, do you understand Kristang? We will say, do you understand Portuguese? Right? So the word Kristang is used within the community more than it's used outside. But now it's gone to a broader call it dimension, as some have promoted it that way lah. But we are trying to
Mr.
put
Michael, Mr. Michael, sorry for interrupting. Is there a difference between Kristang and Kristao? Sometimes they refer to as Cristao.
Okay, that is standard Portuguese.
Standard
It's
Portuguese.
Kristão. So it's very nasal. Our variation of Kristão is Kristang, which is guttural. More.
I see.
Yeah. So it's the same word, except the pronunciation.
Thank you. Guys, I would like to take this opportunity while we are on, while you're doing this forum, I want to highlight another aspect that that if the Malays speak to us, you must be very careful that you don't take offense. You don't get sensitive when you hear some words which are very kasar. Okay? So, for example, like the word just I said, I'm sorry, the word akhir bulan, like we say, okay, because I don't think you're going to ask me this question, and I want to take this opportunity to highlight some certain unusual features about Baba Malay. On one hand, I would say that our Baba Malay is quite kasar. And I would also use another word, quite graphic. What do you mean by graphic? Graphic means it's very explicit, maybe to the Malays and to the Kadazans and all that, they feel, menjijit. Kenapa orang Baba Nyonya cakap macam ini ya? Buntut, kasar. Mereka punya logat. But it is not. It is just our patois is like that. So we say instead of panggil dia, we say teriak. And then things like, okay, makan cekik. Okay, for example, we said, teruk sekali lah. Kenapa macam ni? Teruk sekali. But we normally don't use this. We say like this. So please excuse us. We say, cilaka sekali lu. Do you hear me what I said? Cilaka. Now to the Malays, cilaka is a very offensive word. But to us, cilaka is just like a very nice term of endearment. You say, cilaka sekali lu. Cilaka sekali lu. Sorry, I'm gesturing a bit. Cilaka sekali lu. So actually it's a very nice form of saying, ayah, don't play with me lah. But the Malays will say, teruk sekali kamu. Kamu ni teruk sangat. But we will say cilaka. And then when we say menari, we say tanda. Do you find that the words being uttered is quite kasar? However, there is another group of words which don't sound so kasar. Let me highlight to you. Like we say, until today, we still say, nanti satu hari, bila saya meninggal dunia, okay, that is bahasa Melayu, right? Meninggal dunia. But we, Baba Malay, we never say the word, bila gua mati. Normally we avoid saying that because mati to us is a very rough word in my opinion. So normally we will say it like that. Nanti satu hari, bila gua tua-tua. So that tua-tua is a metaphor which means bila gua mati. And then they said, no, I'm sorry, I just mixed it up. We said, bila they said mati, we said, nanti satu hari, bila gua tak ada. Lu Lu pergi bakar gua cukup. Bakar means cremation. Now, when we say in future, when I am no longer on the face of the earth, we never say bila gua sudah meninggal dunia. We say satu hari bila gua tua-tua, ambil ni kasih brother, ambil ni Kristang kasih sister. Do you see we use the word which is so genteel, very so halus. So it's not all the time our dialect is very kasar. So please, if you hear us say cilaka, please don't mind us because it is our way of saying teruk lah kamu. I just want to highlight that, okay? Please. Thank you for taking note of that.
Okay. Okay, thank you to both of our speakers for those very wonderful elaborations and those wonderful informations. Sort of things that I can relate to, like we share a similar thing in foods, and also thank you, Madam Lina, for clearing the misunderstanding in your language. Yes, it does seem a little bit kasar, but actually it's not. All right, so we hope that all of the speakers' responses will help preserve the language and heritage of our country's minority ethnic groups. Well, we already know that multiracial communities are one of Malaysia's specialties. If we want to protect our country's heritage, we must work together to preserve these languages since they are significant and representing the cultures of each minor ethnic group. Now, according to what Madam Lina Chua and Mr. Michael Singho have shared, we can conclude that language is the cultural glue that holds communities together. Now, I think language loss is a loss to the community's heritage. Isn't that right, Kina?
Yes, I completely agree with you, Afif. I recognize that languages are an integral part of each ethnic's culture and identity. Languages are an essential tool for human communication. Before we conclude, I would like to thank our panels today, Madam Lina Chua and Mr. Michael Singho, for their time today. Could we have the speakers say a few words before we wrap it up? Can we start with Mr. Michael?
Okay, thank you again for inviting us, and I enjoyed the session. And I think with this, we are able to enlighten the masses who are watching our situation, and probably by itself even give us a boost to continue in our efforts to keep our language going, our language alive and strong. So thank you again for these opportunities, and we welcome more opportunities in future, and whatever help or assistance that can be offered to us, we'll be happy to receive. Thank you so much.
I echo Mr. Michael's words that I appreciate you all reaching out to us. That's the only word. The reach is a very big word. Reaching out to us and showing an interest about our endangered language, our endangered patois. Please keep up the good work, and we hope that it is okay. You can contact us again to find out more, because this is another avenue whereby we can try to engage the younger generation to at least show an interest in our, this is the glue that binds us all, our language. Thank you so much. Good effort.
All right, once again, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to Madam Lina Chua and Mr. Michael Singho. The knowledge that has been shared by our panelists today is very insightful and enriching, and we will cherish it dearly. Perhaps today's forum will motivate the community to be concerned with preserving awareness of ethnic minority languages in Peninsular Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the end of our forum. Before we conclude the forum today, we would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Aini Akmar, Head of Programs, Lecturers, and invited speakers for a photography session. Right, so can I have everyone to open their camera? Okay. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, once more. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you, everyone. Oh yeah, one more thing. Before we end the forum, we would like to thank the LG240 Sulam team for promoting our forum today. And congratulations to the LG240 team for completing their Sulam yesterday evening. Once more, shout out to the LG240 Sulam team and congratulations to them.
All right, now we have come to the end of the session. We would like to remind the audience one last time to fill in the feedback form and participation form. You will only receive the e-certificate once the feedback form is submitted. We appreciate your cooperation once again. Madam Lina Chua, Mr. Michael Sneal, thank you very, very much. So, before we end, let's give a round of applause to both of our invited speakers. Yay!
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Great job. Very good job. You have all done.
Yes.
And thank you to the
Good
professors,
initiative.
associate professors, Puan Aina. This is a good initiative, and make sure we hope, in future, anytime, can be of any help. Puan Aina, yeah?
Kudos
fellow
to the
audience.
lecturers. Done a good
Thank
job.
you, madam. Thank you, Madam Lina and Mr. Michael. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Keep it up.
All right, fellow audience,
our pleasure.
before we end our forum today, let us listen to UiTM Di Hatiku song together. Yay. So on behalf of our team and ourselves, we humbly apologize for any shortcomings throughout the forum. With that, we would like to bid every one of you a good farewell. Thank you very much for today and have a very nice day. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. Thank you, Madam Lina. Thank you, Dr. Aini. Thank you, everybody.
Most welcome.
Good job.
I'm so sorry for the glitch initially, because I normally don't use this platform. I normally use the Zoom platform. So I had to panggil
Yeah.
anak I datang ke bawah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Thank
But
you
the
very
thing,
much.
okay.
Turn out well, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Good initiative.
Okay,
Keep it up.
bye-bye.
Keep it up.
All the best, huh?
Bye.
All right, well done, everyone. Thank you so much.